Hello, my friends. We are heading into the end of the year, which means a lot of you are starting to dream about your 2026 goals. And I know for a fact that many of you have Get Published or Design for a Magazine written on your vision board. So I decided to pull one of my favorite episodes out of the archives today. This is the exact breakdown of how I landed my book deal and a magazine cover with a single cold email. I recorded this back in March when my book Crochet Snuggle Buddies first launched, so you'll hear me mention that date, but the strategy I share in this episode is timeless. If you want to see your name in print next year, this is the blueprint. Let's dive in. Hi friends, and welcome back to Simply Hooked, a crochet podcast. I'm your host, Marcy, a crochet artist, mom, and creative entrepreneur. Join me as we explore the art of crochet and the beauty of being uniquely made. So today's episode is a pretty exciting one because I am sharing the behind-the-scenes story of how I landed a pattern book deal with an actual publisher and got my amigurumi designs featured on the front cover of an international magazine more than once. Oh, and by the way, my published pattern book goes on sale today, March 7th, 2025. And just saying that out loud feels pretty incredible. So this started almost 1 year ago today. I was listening to a podcast with Susie Moore and Cathy Heller. Susie is a former Silicon Valley sales director who was unsatisfied with her job and eventually transitioned into a life coach. And she was brainstorming ways to get her presence established in the industry. So she decided to write a 600-word article and submit it to a popular wellness platform called Mind Body Green. 2 weeks later, her article was published and had a bit of a viral moment. It was shared nearly 4,000 times. This experience showed her the power of guest posting as a strategy to grow her business and reach more people. So she continued the same strategy, submitting articles to various publications, and eventually established herself as an expert in the field, which gave her the credibility she needed to really scale her business. And then there's Cathy. She used to write songs and license her music to TV shows like Grey's Anatomy and Pretty Little Liars. And she said her strategy was to find out who the music directors were for these production companies and contact them directly about her songs and ask them some key questions like, what sort of songs do you need? What are you looking for right now? Tell me what you need and I can tailor a song to fit that need. And by asking them what they needed, instead of just saying, hey, look at me, I've attached a new song I wrote, hope you like it, hope you can use it. It was more, hey, I'm a songwriter, I'd love to help you. What sort of songs are you looking for? I'm happy to help you meet those needs. And I was really blown away by these two stories and pondered how I could do the same thing with my crochet business. So I decided I was going to pitch one of my patterns or an article of some kind, since I had a writing background. So on a Monday night in February of 2024, I hopped on Google and I did a search for crochet magazines. Specifically, I was looking for email addresses of the editors of these publications. And after a short search, I found 3, surprisingly. So I drafted 3 separate emails, tailoring a message to each of them. And while writing these emails, I typed out for the first time ever, hi, my name is Marcy, and I am a crochet designer from North Carolina. I am a crochet designer. Let me tell you, that sentence was a game changer. The mindset shift I learned from Cathy was to claim what you want, believe it, and the universe will respond. Saying I am a crochet designer out loud made it real for me. It opened doors I hadn't even imagined. I had never said those 5 words in a sentence before. And I realized just how incredible the power of an I am statement really is. So I introduce myself with a link to my website so they can see a portfolio of my work. And I ask all three of them, what do you need? Is there a specific amigurumi pattern you are looking for in your next issue? Are there specific articles or tutorials that you'd like to see that would add value to your readers? I'm happy to help you meet any needs that you currently have. And I look forward to hearing from you. And that was it. I kept it short and to the point. So here's what happened next. One editor never responded. One replied within 12 hours. And the third one responded 1 week later. So the first response was so much more than I had expected. When you think of an editor of a magazine, you think these people are so busy, they don't have time to answer emails like this. So the fact that she even responded was mind-blowing in and of itself, but the generosity of her time was just mind-blowing. So here's what happened in that email. She attached a copy of their pattern submission form and said they send out calls quarterly via email. They would add me to the call out list, and I was more than welcome to submit ideas. So I thought, oh, check mark, great. Then she said, by the way, I took a look at your website and I really like your designs. I want you to know that I'm not only the editor of the magazine, but I'm also the editor of our pattern books. And that if I was interested in submitting a pattern book proposal, she would love to see what I came up with. What? If I was interested? Of course. She went on to say that their pattern books are sold online and in the big box craft stores like Michael's, Joann's, and Hobby Lobby. Oh my gosh. I was speechless. Yes, yes, and yes. And she graciously added 2 more paragraphs detailing the process, the time frame, contracts, just how it all works. She said if they liked my proposal and it moved forward, I would get a check for a book advance. I would be set up on a royalty plan. I mean, I was just in absolute awe that she responded at all, but to be so gracious in giving me so much detail. And then at the end, she even said, thank you for reaching out to us, because it's hard to find people that are interested in having their work in print anymore. I thought, oh my gosh, of course. I'm glad to help. I would love to have my work in print. So, of course, I responded. I said, yes, I would love to submit a proposal. She said they would review the next round of book proposals in about 3 months. So I had plenty of time to get something to her. So I remember sitting in front of the fireplace one night with a blank sheet of paper and a pen, and I just waited for some ideas to hit. I started sketching out 6 animals, gave them names, and I gave them little backstories. All that incorporated names of people in our family, in our lives, because I'm just sappy and sentimental that way. And 2 weeks later, after sending the proposal to a few friends to proofread, I submitted it. And something I did in that proposal that I think is key, aside from the designs, is that I tried to pinpoint where I was adding value for their readers. So I tried to not make it about me and my designs. It was, I will teach your readers how to embroider eyes so that if they want to make this design for a baby, they don't have to worry about the plastic safety eyes. It will be baby safe. And so I just added little nuggets in there about how this book would add value to their readers. So I finally submit it, and she responds the very next day. And she says, I love it. This is just perfect. Can't wait to show it to the team. So she said it's going to be a few weeks before we all meet. So don't be alarmed if you don't hear anything for a while, but I'll be in touch after we meet. So after a long 3-month wait, fast forward to the end of May, the day before my birthday of all days, I finally see her name in my inbox. And she says, the team loved your proposal and we have got the green light on your book. Again, I continue to be blown away like every exchange I have with her. I'm so excited. I needed to design 6 patterns and write 1 tutorial, type them up, include photos along the way, and mail her all 6 finished products. So I spent a lot of the summer working on this, and by the end of July, I finished. I sent them all of my Google folders, mailed off the animals, and a few days later, she said, "We received them. They look great." She said, "You probably won't hear anything for a while because we know we have to test the patterns, we got to do photography and all that stuff." So fast forward 6 months, I heard from her again in January when she told me that the sale date would be March 7th and that the book was going to print in February and that the marketing team would start promoting the book like 3 weeks before it goes on sale. And y'all, here we are. It's March 7th. 1 year ago, I put myself out there for the very first time, claiming the title I want for the rest of my life, and shared my gifts with a small group of people that said yes. I felt like God was opening a door and saying, "Don't walk, Mercy, run through this door." So that is the story of this book, and I look forward to submitting more proposals to get more books in the hopper. All of this came from a cold email. So, lesson learned, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. You might just be knocking on a door that you never even knew was there. This book experience has just been incredible, and I will, of course, put links in the show notes of where you can find the book. So now let's move on to the front cover of the International magazine. Remember I said of the 3 emails I sent, 1 person responded a week later? So this was the editor of a crochet magazine based in the UK. She said, "I'm so glad you reached out. I'm actually looking for 2 Christmas patterns for the winter, and I'm looking for a collection of 4 Easter patterns for our spring edition." I thought, great, I'm happy to help with that. So I came up with ideas, submitted the proposals, and she absolutely loved them. So here I am, on my way again. So this is happening alongside the pattern book deal and filming my Learn to Crochet course. Oh, it was nuts. I barely slept at all last summer making all this happen. And working full time and taking care of a house and husband and baby. And oh my gosh, it was absolutely nuts. But you know what? I loved it. I loved every second of it. I was in my creative flow. If I was going to be stressed and worn out and burnt out about anything, I was thrilled that it was about this. So with the magazine, so not only did the magazine pay me a commission for each design, but they also provided all of the yarn I needed, and it arrived at my doorstep ready to go. The book publisher did the same. I contacted the manufacturer of the yarn that I wanted to use, sent them a list of every skein and every color and the quantities that I would need, and 1 week later, a huge box of yarn showed up at my door. And here's the crazy part with the magazine. I decided to manifest something big. I noticed that each issue of their magazine had an amigurumi pattern featured in the top right corner of the front cover. And once I realized this, I said, I told myself, my designs are not only going to be in this magazine, they are going to be on that front cover. And this past October, I go to their website the day I know my issue is dropping with my first Christmas pattern, and I'll be darned if my little elf is not on the front cover of that issue. Oh my gosh, it's like, to see it, it's one thing to think it, but when you see it in real life, it's like, man, anything is possible. And I don't want this to come across as cocky or boastful. I just want to get the point across that it's a good thing to have confidence in your work and claim what you want in your life. And I wanted to push the envelope on these goals, which is very unlike me. I'm a very reserved, don't want to be center of attention, just naturally nervous, introverted person. So for me to have the confidence just within myself to say, you know what, I'm going to be on the front cover, that was a big deal for me. 2 months later, when the next pattern came out, again, front cover. Oh my gosh, amazing. And as I record this episode, the Easter collection has not come out yet, but you know what I'm thinking about that one. Beyond these incredible opportunities, I have now built relationships with editors and their teams. They know I meet deadlines, they know I'm easy to work with, and they know I'm going to deliver quality work. So these experiences have given me credibility within my business and opened doors for future projects. So my message to you, do not be afraid to put yourself out there. Claim who you are and what you want. Send that email, knock on that door. You never know what is waiting on the other side. If you have ever thought about submitting a pattern to a magazine or pitching an idea, just do it. The doors that have opened in the past 12 months have completely reshaped the way I view my crochet business and my future, and I am beyond excited for what's next. So check out the show notes for links to my pattern book and the magazine issues featuring my designs. And if you want to connect, find me on social media at simplyhookedone or email me at hello@marcymade.co. So thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope that this provides you some encouragement to put yourself out there and just go for it. What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? Just go for it. Once you believe that this is it, this is your destiny, this is your future, you know what your path is, there's no stopping you. These doors are going to open. And it's going to amaze you every time in the most beautiful way. So visit my website, marcymade.co, for crochet patterns and details on my Learn to Crochet course. You will also find links in the show notes to a free donkey crochet pattern that I designed and a free crochet starter kit for beginners. So until next time, my friends, keep creating, keep dreaming, and remember, you were uniquely made for something beautiful.